Hey everybody, Jessica Morrison, realtor with Ferris Property Group in Indianapolis, Indiana. We are back with a preferred home vendor, Courtney Kraft with Cross Country Home Mortgage. Courtney, thank you for braving this interview series. How are you today?
I'm great. Jessica, thanks for asking. How you doing, girl?
Good. I am excited to help our audience learn more about cross country. I feel like I have met so many good loan officers from your company that honestly, it's been a little hard to know who to send business to because you guys just have so many great people. Um, Tell us a bit about who you are, how you got into the mortgage industry, and maybe just some random things people don't know when they reach out to you as a loan officer.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful to work with Cross Country Mortgage. We do have some fantastic loan officers and support staff there that I get to surround myself with. And that makes one of the reasons why I enjoy doing what I do, because I have a great team surrounding me. But my name is Courtney Kraft with Cross Country Mortgage. I have been a home loan advisor for right around 10 years. And I love helping people. I grew up here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and my parents had put me in the private school system, and a lot of my education all was around service work and giving back, time, talents, treasure. So when I stepped into a career, it was really important for me that I got to find an opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. I just needed to value my time and know that I was spending it in a way that really had an impact on somebody. So as I found a career in home loan advising, that's exactly what I've gotten to be able to do. I spend a lot of time talking with my clients about short-term and long-term goals because I think that I play a big key in financial wealth and generational wealth as well. Real estate is a great way to create generational wealth. So I spend a lot of time making sure that I'm putting together financial options for individuals that make them very comfortable with their living arrangements and that the house complements their lifestyle and not the other way around.
I love your heart on that. And I think that's probably the best lead introduction I've seen thus far. So great job.
Well, I
Um,
think, you always have to tell your story, and that's just kind of a little snippet of my story.
yeah. So I think, especially for those who are looking to interview a loan officer, I think from an outside in perspective, it kind of seems like you guys are all the same or maybe offer a lot of the same things. How do you, I mean, you kind of alluded to this just now in your introduction, but how do you set yourself apart? Do you agree that all loan officers are the same? And how do you think a consumer should evaluate maybe some of those differentiating questions?
That's a great question. I know that we're not all the same because I have actually sent some of my friends out to go in this process and just be a home buyer and see what type of help and advice they get. And just being a fly on the wall for those conversations, I've heard on the receiving end just a lot of things that people don't do. And that's helped me shape my business and helping me figure out exactly the holes I needed to fill and the information that I did need to provide. So my team and I, we focus a lot on education, honesty, creativity, and integrity. We want to get as much honest information from you. So that way we can put creative loan options together. We do put a lot of emphasis on education. I want to explain to first-time home buyers just what we're looking at, why this matters, how it all comes together for a customized loan option. And then again, spending time talking to people about their goals, short-term and long-term, really helps with the creativity portion of those loan options because there is a lot of different ways to buy these assets. And I don't think everybody knows both short-term and long-term goals, but I think once they found the home and they're ready to make that offer, then a story in their mind comes out as far as, do they want to live there for 3 to 5 years as a stepping stone? Is this something they will eventually leave behind and make an investment property? Is this something that they're just doing to acquire wealth, or are they downsizing and they're making sure that they're kind of getting ready for that next chapter of life anyway? So I don't find that everybody takes the time to talk about those things and put that into one big picture from a bird's eye view, which we would consider a home loan. A lot of people tend to just focus on rate and payment. That's just part of the equation. That's not the whole picture. So I like to focus on every aspect of it, just so that way I don't miss something that could make a big difference in the way that this asset helps their future.
Oh my goodness. I hope you guys are just like, wow, as much as I am. So good, Courtney. You are correct. A lot of loan officers do only focus on interest rate and payment, or at least I feel like that's maybe not so much from the loan officer's perspective, but I know that the client tends to care a lot about those things. And so perhaps maybe the way to rephrase that is that drives that conversation. I think it's maybe an example of people don't know what they don't know. And so I love that you are intentionally leading people to that in a proactive sense, because I think I think I've heard on an occasion where you spoke, where you said that a lot of your business is by referral or even past business. And so I think that that's correlated because you're having those leading conversations. So what are some things that you feel, we talked a second ago about like how people tend to focus on interest rate and payment, and that's only part of the equation. What are the other things prospective clients should be considering or asking their loan officer?
I think talking also just about closing costs helps get a better picture of what also is going into that rate and payment. But loan officers also do have some additional partners in their business world that can help with this as well, whether it's an insurance referral when it comes to your homeowner's insurance. Maybe there's a bigger thing to talk about with a financial advisor. We know some of those people too. So I like that there are all those different types of amenities we have to offer. But when I am focusing on the bigger picture as well, I try to get an idea of, do people want lowest monthly payment, least amount out of pocket? And you can't always have both of those at the same time. So taking it a step further and finding out why they want one option or the other kind of helps them make the decisions that lead them down to the solution, which is our final creative loan option.
So let's talk for a second about first-time home buyers. I heard you talk at one of our company happy hour / monthly meetings. That's what we call them. And you spoke at length about some first-time homebuyer programs. And I think that that in itself can be its own little webinar, but maybe can you kind of give a summary of the different options that maybe people are not aware of when it comes to purchasing a home for the first time in Indianapolis that are considered either special portfolio loans or down payment assistance programs?
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to put together a presentation for one of these products that I'm going to mention. Something that we call here at Cross Country Mortgage a 2-1 buy down, which has a benefit for both the buyer and the seller. And it's about seller paying some extra closing costs to help buy that buyer's rate down. Rates have gone up. I know that a lot of people have lost some buying ability with these higher rates. So this can help bring that buyer ability back into their hands. And there's benefits for the seller as well. So I'll have to provide you some more information on this option. It's very, very neat. That would be one product I would like to consider talking with people, first-time home buyers about. Another one, there are great down payment assistance programs. We have 2 different ones, some that require repayment on that assistance and some that don't. And it's just about finding out, how long will you be in this home? Do you have plans to move or refinance in that time period? And making sure that we don't put a loan with somebody where later on they wouldn't enjoy what would happen if they changed out of this loan. Sometimes people like to talk about FHA or conventional, but there are a lot of people working from home that don't mind looking outside of city limits, which could maybe entail a USDA loan. And USDA loans are just another great type of loan that is a government funded loan. And it has a no down payment option with very low monthly payments and interest rates. So that kind of appeals to people if those are 2 of their primary goals. And then with all of our programs, we do have a great education tool that helps them compare each of those options with each other as they go about their home search to decide which is best for them.
Excellent. So I guess if someone's interviewing different loan officers or considering different companies, What do you think sets cross-country mortgage apart? And I'm sorry if I've kind of asked that maybe in a different way, but I want to make sure that it's clear,
Yeah.
the uniqueness of the programs that you have to offer. And again, just really stressing that not all mortgage companies are the same.
When I had come over to Cross Country Mortgage and gone through initial training, one thing they said to us was, just when you think you can't get this loan done, ask somebody else, because there might always be a program that can accomplish this. The spread of programs that we have is incredible. We are a nationwide company, so we do lend in a lot of states that have varying laws for various reasons. And we have loans that address that. And I was very impressed to see some of those products, including loans for physicians or people who have taken a certain career path. Those are some niche products because they do have to address how somebody earns their income. And the only way we're able to provide financing is because these people do have sources of income. So working to accommodate that. We've got great loans for self-employed borrowers for many different approval reasons. So Cross Country definitely has an incredible and impressive portfolio of loan products. That would be one thing. The other element I would talk about is the team. I have a team member for almost any aspect of the process we need, both with myself and the Kraft Mortgage Group, but also with my branch and then with the company. So there's layers of collaboration that's occurred within this company, that there's always someone on hand to make sure that this gets done. And then the other thing I would have to say is technology. The way that they have presented this process to the buyer and the realtors, it is making it smoother. It is making it more efficient and effective. We have the means to communicate more often, more frequently. And I would say that that is when you have a true teamwork, when everyone's working together and there's transparency of what's going on, then you see a lot of really happy home buyers and sellers.
Yes, I think the tech and automation especially has really helped streamline that. I've seen that from another loan officer at Cross Country, and I was the listing agent on that deal where this particular person was representing the buyer, and it was very nice to just have that extra layer of communication where, you know, those are updates that we're always looking for or are going to be asking anyway. And so it just truly saves, I think, everyone time and money because that communication is happening on an automated plan. You know, you can spend your time instead of saying, oh, like we just sent out the closing disclosure and having that same type of conversation. I'm sure you still have those personalized conversations, but those summary videos are certainly helpful, I think, for borrowers to, especially if you've already talked about it. It's a nice recap and they can refer back to it. So I think technology is an amazing resource that consumers should be looking for when you're interviewing realtors and any of your affiliate partners, in this case, loan officers. So I do want to kind of highlight the fact that you have a team. This is something that I've been a little curious about because you, in real estate as a realtor, you can grow to have a team, and that is to the benefit of the consumer because then there's just more people helping make sure that that deal goes smoothly for the client, and you're able to help more people as your brand grows. And it's been interesting to watch different loan officers in the industry grow their business. And I don't feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like having a team in the mortgage industry is very common. Is that true? And how have you found that? How did you come into that?
I think the saying, if you want to go alone, you'll go far. But if you want to go further, have someone go with you or have a team, you know, or go together. I started out as just a one-woman show. I loved what I was able to accomplish, but I did have a lot of people who appreciated what I did for them and wanted to share the experience of their people. And there got to be a point where I didn't have enough time to do all aspects of it for every person without just completely overexerting myself. So that is where I found it was most important to add a team. And I kind of broke the process for borrowers down of getting loan into that, from introduction to a pre-approval. And then you have the pre-approval to a home buying or a home offer stage. And then you have from accepted offer to closing. So having someone help me at each of those moments in the process just helped me still give the personalized assistance and attention while having someone take some of the non-personalized steps off my hands. So I brought in my right hand woman, Jessie. Jessie is the individual who takes this lead from introduction to an application. She organizes that application to make sure we have everything we need to pre-approve this. I'm so grateful to have her here because without her, that could slow down. So in order to keep these turn times nice and quick, we needed to implement a team member. Then we also implemented a team member for processing, where they take everything from application or from accepted offer to close. She's been an integral part because now my borrower just has one point of contact for the entire process. This one point of contact is a direct communicator with the underwriters. So we've kind of reduced the amount of people that could be on this and given them just assigned individuals throughout the entire process. And then I get to be there for each of these moments, from the introductory part, between the pre-approval and the home accepted offer, and then accepted offer to close, and all throughout the rest of the relationship after closing.
Excellent. And is that common in your industry for people to partner with assistants like that?
I don't know if I would say common as often as I would say it does probably depend on each individual person's goals. I knew that what we did was different and what I have to offer was important. And so in order to serve as many people as possible and to help as many people as possible, I needed a team. But I have some very fantastic loan officers in my branch and other branches across country that they didn't want more or to help more. They were happy with helping exactly the number of people they did. And so they were great at doing it as a one-person show. So common, it's about 50-50, because I think for every person who probably wants to do more, there's probably somebody who's pretty happy with where they're at.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting. And I think sometimes if maybe someone's not entirely familiar with that process, or they're looking for that partnership, Courtney's with you throughout the whole process, so don't misinterpret her systems. But I think sometimes when they hear, there's assistance involved, or I'm going to be handed off to someone else, it feels less personalized, but maybe look at it from a different perspective if that's your line of thinking. If you have someone who, and I'm not trying to knock someone else's business model, but just to be favorable to Courtney's model for this example, that if you have someone who is trying to serve so many people and their business is growing, they're doing a good job, but maybe they're just serving a lot of people and they're the only person, that does increase the chances potentially for there to be mistakes. And so there's pros and cons to both. But again, Courtney is walking with you through that whole process. And again, it's her model is an asset to the buying process. And I think that's echoed because her model, which is not the case for every loan officer, is so focused on educating you. And so that means they need to have time to do that. And then those details of gathering paperwork, verifying your assets or income, certainly needs to also have its own attention. Is that a good summary, or would you add anything to that?
In our element in this process, we have to pay attention to so many details that even just the way I look at it is I'm kind of assigning details to my team to help make sure that nothing's missed. We can only offer the caliber of service that we do because we have so many people to ensure that our systems are executed. Every step follows through and everyone gets to experience that white glove service. So I look at more as assigning details because there are a lot of them in the lending process.
And details are important. And it's not something you want to find out the day before closing that something needs to get corrected.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so in the few minutes that we do have left, Courtney, what are either some questions, some tips, state of the market right now? If you've got a soapbox and you can tell people anything, what are maybe 3 or 4 tips for, 2022, 2023 things to think about?
I would say a couple of things. Home buying can be for everyone. There is no one that should ever be told no to home buying. The answer should be when, because it can happen for anyone that wants it. But just because you can doesn't always mean it's right. Do it when it feels right and you're ready for it, because it is a responsibility, and it's a big one. And so I think that while the home is an important asset, so is your ability to finance it or to buy it. And then we're talking credit and money. And so if anybody wants to focus on their credit just to make this home buying process better, that is a perfect goal as well. But it will always be more beneficial to own than to rent when you look at the short-term and long-term goals, because it is an investment. And so for anyone who's on the fence and just not quite sure, just understand that there are advisors like myself who really do want to help you focus on a home that is compatible with your lifestyle, that makes it possible, and put together a roadmap to show you when and how to do it on your time, because it's something you can be in control of and get to focus on. And we just want to help supplement that goal and make it a dream. Both short-term or long-term, even in 2023 and 2024, don't think that rates are going to get any better. They're going to probably be where they are for a little while. And of course, everything will go up and down throughout time, as we've experienced many times before. But I think just kind of knowing what you want out of the home buying process, what you want out of this asset, and making a game plan, anything's possible.
Excellent. So I think yes, I would echo all of that. Can you speak into, you mentioned different affiliate partners, and credit repair is one that I think keeps a lot of people from maybe having those conversations with the loan officer, because they recognize potentially that their credit isn't as good and discount or disqualify themselves before they even have a conversation. At what point should someone reach out to you if they have an interest in buying a home? And do you have connections with reputable credit repair services? Because Lord knows there's like 10 of them for every scam. There's 10 scams for every good one, it feels like. So
Yes, of course. I would say the moment you have a thought, I might want to buy a home, that is the perfect time to start talking to someone in my position. Because with time on your side, if we pull credit and you find out everything looks great, well, then you're ready. You can decide to take those next steps, either for a pre-approval or wait a second at that point. Or if you find out your credit's not where you wanted it to be, if time is on your side, then you can focus on fixing it. I have a lot of experience looking at credit over the last 10, 11 years that I've been in this role. And so I understand a vast majority of how the credit algorithms work, but I'm not a credit professional. So if I get to a point in the credit report where it's outside of my scope of understanding or my ability to advise, then I do have some referral partners. I have 2 that I've worked with over the last 10 years and have had a lot of success with return clients from these 2. They focus on credit for the sake of a mortgage as well, because there is credit repair to the extent of making it clean as a whistle, not a single blip on there. Well, in mortgages, there's a lot of things that we might not take into consideration that you could be wasting time paying somebody to fix when it's not something that would prevent you from buying a home. So there's both ends of that. Some credit repair companies, the way that they help boost the score is they just throw everything into dispute, and automatically by putting everything in dispute, the whole algorithm is paused, your scores immediately stop, and you're pausing any bad things from reporting. Pausing all of the bad from reporting can just boost the score temporarily, only for results of this research to come in and find out that maybe some of this might belong to somebody, which can then bring their score back down. So there can be some very leading credit repair where you feel as though you're achieving results, but it's only just because of the particular way they went about utilizing their services to do something. And then other ones actually do what you need them to do. I don't often find that everybody needs credit repair. A lot of the time, it's just patience and some money. And the suggestion of how to fix credit with money is much easier said than done. So I try to break this down with my clients and say, this is how much you might need to fix this account or this account or this account to achieve this score. How soon do you think you could do that? Because I don't want to be naive to say, throw $1,000 at this credit card. That can be a lot of money for many people. So we have to break it down onto, if you got the balance from here to here, how long do you think it would take you to do that? And that puts more control back in their hands. But time, just got to be patient with your credit. And that is the true healer to most scores. And that's a hard thing for many people, myself included.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I asked you that question because I don't think many people are aware of the different types of credit repair companies that are out there. I think a lot of times as you were talking, it reminded me of when you go to the doctor and you're trying to get treatment for a certain type of thing, and you don't know that that is outside of their limitations, or, you just have a different expectation because it's not fully communicated to you the limitations of that particular provider. And so in this case, it's that way with credit reporting institutions. Not only do you have to find one that's legitimate, but also going to fit the type of outcome that you're looking for, which is why I always tell people, it's free to talk to a realtor. It's free to talk to, a loan officer.
Yes.
There are certainly some people out there who have sales breath and just want to sell you a house. That's not what Courtney or I are about, or anyone that I interview on this series. We have a heart to help people. A lot of people that get into the real estate industry are second type of careers where, maybe they were a teacher or a nurse prior. So they still carry that heart of service. Maybe they just wanted to make more money or do something different that was a little bit more interesting to them. But many people who are in this profession have a heart of service. And so it's free to have these conversations, and then there's no obligation. So just because you reach out to either of us doesn't mean you have to go buy. We want you to be happy, and we'll tell you hey, here's the cost of waiting. Here's the math. But ultimately, you know what's best for your family. And Courtney, more than anyone, would be happy to break down the payment and help you compare rent versus buying and locking things in now, or maybe referring you to a financial advisor who can help you come up with a financial strategy to get to where you want to be with home ownership. But my biggest implore to people watching this is don't wait till the last minute. I can't tell you, Courtney, you've probably had so many similar conversations where people get within 90 days or less on their rent lease terms, thinking that they're in a good position to buy, and then they reach out to a loan officer and they've got something that needs 6 months to get revised, or they're right on the border. And if they, maybe you're in a good position and the interest rate just isn't quite what you would prefer. But if you had talked to someone early who could say, hey, pay these payments differently, it can slightly improve your score. And like you said, you need time for that. And it's hard because I think, and maybe you can speak into this part, Courtney, I think one of the biggest obstacles isn't maybe the objection to having those conversations. Maybe there's the fear of being obligated to move forward. But I think there's a fear of pulling back that financial curtain, having those uncomfortable conversations. And I think people are very protective of their credit scores. So talk for a second about what's the reality of, if I talk to a lender, or let's say I talk to 2 or 3 lenders, how is that going to impact my credit score?
So I like to say that I'm sometimes the broccoli of the entire home buying process, because you got to eat your vegetables, you got to talk to your lender, but sometimes they don't taste as good as, looking at houses. Houses are way more fun than what's my credit score. So I definitely don't have all of the sexy thrill and frills when it comes to pulling a credit report and talking about what you can and cannot afford. But the reality of it is that you can talk to several mortgage advisors, and on the buying side, working with a realtor is, essentially free. You're not paying out of pocket for any services. The same goes for working with me as a lender. My company compensates me for providing this service, but my buyers do not have to compensate me for providing this service. And I think that back to that spirit of giving is that, this isn't taught in schools. There is no education on this. So I owe it to people to educate them as much as possible. And when it comes down to picking who you want to work with, it's just about who you like and trust too. Who do you feel good about that they're going to represent your best interests and do everything to help you get this house, and you feel like you've linked arm in arm with them and you've gone to the finish line together. So to talk to a few people to figure out who would be your flavor or your style, you won't get penalized for it. You do have a time window for when it's most beneficial, and typically between 30 and 45 days. The lenders need to be pulling your credit if you're going to have all of them compete against one another. With a realtor, they can talk to you guys. There's no timeline for when they do or don't decide to choose who they work with. But without experiencing multiple credit pulls or the symptoms of multiple credit pulls, doing it within a 45-day window will be absolutely fine. There is no penalty for educating yourself and finding out who you want to work with to represent you. You do have the benefit of time to go ahead and see who you like, who you don't like, and then make a decision going forward.
As far as I want to make sure that there's a boundary understood. So if somebody went out and talked to 6 different loan officers and they all pulled credit, is there a quantity of pulls or inquiries that could cause someone, if they're on the border, to have their score lowered to where it would be a penalizing experience for them?
So talking to a mortgage professional in and of itself, or even 6 of us, shouldn't be a big blow to a score. It's going to be if you have a lot of pulls for other reasons as well, like banking pulls and retail offers. And maybe you've seen your score, you feel pretty good, you want to go buy a new TV from Best Buy. And then there's a chance to get 15% off at the Gap with back to school shopping. But, then you might have to get a new car because you may have to carpool kids. So you looked at vehicle shopping. It is the variety of reasons for credit pull that is more harmful than the pulls itself. Because when you look at those different reasons, you're looking at kind of like retail, merchandise, automotive, that's saying to the algorithm, hey, I'm looking to get a lot of different things or different services now that I know I might be able to. But when it's all just automotive or just home lending, that's showing the algorithm like, hey, I'm inquiring about just one service alone. And the variety of those pulls for that single service should not hurt somebody. And you might often have to see a big dip in score to experience a repercussion that would completely change your lending options. I would say that, some people do sit on that fence pretty closely where, 2-3 points can make a big difference on their loan options. Absolutely. But then that should be communicated by the first loan officer you talk to that pulls your credit. So that way, you know what you're getting into and to not have your credit pulled for any other reason after that.
Yeah, which is why I feel like sometimes just having that initial verbal conversation, and like you gave a metaphor earlier, just taste different flavors. And I think you can get a feel for the different personalities. If you're watching this series, then you'll get to softly interview them through the different YouTube videos that I'm doing to see whose personality you might click with best. But I think you can always have a phone conversation and see where that will take you. They will certainly be limited in the information they can give you about your situation because your credit wouldn't be pulled at that point. But if you did want to have a more clear picture, that is what will be required. So, Courtney, I'm glad you were able to explain that at length. I think that certainly gives a lot of clarity for people. And we'll have to do a follow-up when you have your presentation put together about the different programs, because I think that will be very valuable for our audience.
I'm excited to put some research together and to dive more into the nuances of this program. Thanks for having me, Jessica. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
I love when people text me. It is very easy because I won't respond unless they can get my undivided attention. But if there's anything left unread, I clear out any unread emails and text messages every single day. So I'm not one of those people with a big red bubble and a ton of letter or numbers in my big red bubbles. I have to have no notifications at the end of every day. So texting, email would be another best great option, and then phone call. Unfortunately, being in the business of having my phone number plastered all over Google and Facebook, I get a lot of spam. So I just do need people to leave voicemails because it helps me return a call quicker and easier. But even on my voicemail, I'm pretty sure I say text me if you need me quicker. So texting's great. Email would be best, and phone call as long as you leave a message.
Excellent. Okay. Well, all of this information will be provided in the description of this video, and you can certainly connect with Courtney or any of our other Ferris Property Group preferred vendors if you are looking for any home service connections, whether it be like windows or landscaping services, electricians, plumbers. We have those resources available so that you have great people to work with. Courtney, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to our follow-up interview on this.
Absolutely. You have a great day, Jessica. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.